wanted to take a moment to show off some movement stick choices that Banshee has for her melee weapon slot and give some reasons as to why I think Praetos is one of her weaker choices. The parkour velocity and sprint speed are very beneficial, especially when you combine them with things like Amalgam Barrel Diffusion and either Mobilize or one of the elemental parkour mods on the frame. It gives you access to some extremely fast and fluid movement, very good for contesting objectives and getting around the battlefield, especially in Void Cascade. But there is one property of the Praetos that I think kind of kills it, and that is the aerial slide attack. This doesn't alter your vector in any way or alter your momentum. And that is something that I just can't get around. The ability to alter your momentum mid-flight with the slide attack is an extremely useful tool. And Praetos not having access to it, I think, makes it one of the weaker choices. But fortunately, things like the Ceramic Dagger exist. This has an Incarnate Evolution that gives almost identical sprint and parkour velocity. But it has a much more beneficial slide attack, where if you notice how it has that little like shift in momentum, I can even completely turn around with it. And to show off the Incarnate Evolution, we'll just go and spawn these guys here. There we go. Get my initial combo up. There we go. So now we have basically the same movement that the Praetos provides. Except we have access to this nice little handy slide attack. And with this, something I'll often do is this kind of pseudocopter, where I will just cancel the slide attack animation with a roll, and with Amalgam Barrel Diffusion, this just launches me. But there's actually one other thing that Banshee has access to with this that I don't often see anybody utilize. In fact, I don't know how many people even know this is still in the game. So we've been able to copter for years, and in fact, as far as I can tell, I think we've been able to copter since even before Kuva Liches were added. There was an attempt at taking coptering out a little bit after Kuva Liches were released, where DE updated the melee attack speed and, well, quite a few melee mechanics actually, but in particular they nerfed Berserker and turned it into Berserker Fury, and they altered some of the melee attack speed to try to rein it in a little bit. But basically what happened was, if you got your attack speed high enough, this animation would break, in particular on daggers, because if you see this, where I have this little jump in momentum in whatever direction I'm facing, and then it kills the momentum right there at the end. Dagger swings around behind Banshee, and she's not able to go any further. The momentum stops. If the attack speed got high enough, it would break this animation, and it wouldn't play the last couple of frames of it. So you wouldn't have the part of the animation where your momentum stopped. And yeah, it would just send you flying. People were coptering again, and it was really funny. And when DE fixed it, they didn't take out all of the ways we could get out of that animation. They just made it so that we couldn't break it with attack speed. So we can still copter if we want to. This tech actually gets better the faster your melee weapon is, but if your melee weapon is too fast, then it becomes almost impossible to time it, so I usually just stick to putting on Primed Fury and calling it a day. Some weapons I'll put on Primed Fury and Magnetic Rush. If you haven't been playing the game for years and years, then you're probably just going to have to stick with Quickening, but yeah. It's a really handy tech. You can just basically fly with it. Not every ability is suitable for this. I have the most consistent results when using Sonar. In fact, like, see, Sonic Boom isn't stopping it from canceling momentum early enough. I can't get Silence to work consistently either. It'll sometimes happen with Silence, but not often. And in fact, I can't even really get it to work consistently with Molt. And Molt doesn't even have an animation. It just... oh, worked that time. Yeah. It doesn't help with where I have Molt keybound to, but depending on where you have it laid out on your keyboard, it might be a bit different for you. For me, Molt is... it requires me to actually kind of reach a little bit, so like just physically moving my hand to it is not working. But yeah. So anyway, Sonar. I mean, Banshee wants to be spamming it anyway, so it's always worked out for me. Alternatives for the Ceramic Dagger is actually the Zaw. If you just run a Zaw dagger with all of the attack speed attachments, this was actually how I used to copter back in the day. It has a lot more attack speed just innately, so with just Primed Fury, I'm able to fly quite a bit further. And having access to Exodia Contagion means that I can just have a pocket nuke that I just send out every now and then. I have two Zaws for this. One of them is using Melee Influence, the other one is using Melee Duplicate. Basically, one of them is for deleting a single big dude, and the other one is for deleting a big crowd. Yeah, I can use them as both a delete button for one particular problem my loadout isn't currently addressing, and also a movement stick. Which is just very handy. And then a third option is the Rakta Dark Dagger. Just in case you're unaware of its trait, if you hit something that has radiation, a radiation status effect, that it gives you 5% of your shield. And so if you put on Melee Influence, it is just an immortality stick. You just swing away into a group of ads, and they can't hurt you or threaten you in any way, shape, or form. Well, short of toxin damage, but that's all shield gating builds, so whatever. So yeah, just have the ability to fly, and also just have the ability to turn immortal, and you just hold down the E button. And then just to show off real fast, the dual Zorin does work with this, but not as well as you might hope. So it'll send you flying, just like any other potential copter option. However, the reason it can send you flying is because of this trait, where like it's its own separate mechanic, basically. So DE made it so that if you've landed with the, like, you have fully landed and both feet have hit the ground, then when you do an aerial slide attack, the dual Zorin will just send you somewhere. It'll send you forward. The problem is that it doesn't do this on every slide attack. It's only the first one after you've landed. And the only way to refresh is through either landing or doing a wall cling. Wall clinging also works to refresh it. But wall hopping and wall dashing doesn't do it. So this is an old tile, so there aren't a lot of suitable walls actually. So one sec, we're gonna this building ought to work. Here. So if you see, it doesn't have the copter there. So basically, we get one really good lunge, and then the rest are just kind of wet noodle lunges. They don't go as far. And I mean, you can do this with pretty much any melee weapon that allows you to throw yourself forward. I just find that daggers in particular are the best at it because they just have that very quick initial lunge right at the start of the animation. And it throws you very far. Like, for example, the bow prime, you know, it has access to its own movement buffs. In fact, yeah, you can run movement speed here in its third evolution, and it also has the ability to change its momentum, but like it kills the momentum almost instantly. So like, yeah, kind of a middling copter that barely sends you anywhere. So I usually just stick to daggers. It's about everything I had to show off. I don't have any tips on how to kill stuff or anything with these. It's just I just wanted to show off the movement. So hope this just added one more tool to your kit, something that you can use for building out Banshee or other frames actually. This isn't exclusive to Banshee. It's just Banshee's the only frame I actually know how to do it on. I've seen people do this on Volt to much greater success, sending him to basically Mach 5 with the speed buff. I have no idea how they time it. Every time I try on Volt, it just blows up on my face and I stall out and die. So, yeah. So, go at it. See if you can find out other frames that you can do this on. See if you can do it on on Volt. He can speedrun extremely well with it. Yeah. See you.